On my mind, gotta hustle and grind. Financial literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray Dinero, and we are back at it again for another episode of Future Financial Strategies. I hope you guys are ready. I hope you're locked in. I hope you guys have had a good weekend. We're almost through the week. We're almost to Bag Fortification Friday, which means that we're going to be getting another update from our new show that we've got, which will be doing a quick update about our Robinhood account. I'll probably be recording those on Thursday, most likely. I think probably like a day in advance or super early in the morning, depending on when I get up on Friday. See how that works too. But want to make sure that you're locked in. So first thing you need to do is hit the like on the way in. It is a free show of support for the channel, for the platform. Also, if you've been here more than 2 times, I need you to hit that subscribe button and make sure that down below you hit the bell notification down there. There's a little bell. You click that. Make sure to turn all on because I'm not flooding your feed. You're seeing me 3 times a week now. That's it. Beginning of the month, you'll see me all 5 days because there's updates for all the portfolios and just ongoings and things. And then now you'll be seeing me twice on Friday, which is going to be pretty interesting. We might actually shoot that over to a Saturday drop. We might do Debt Crusher on Saturdays. Could do that. Or twice Friday. I don't know. Because right now we got the Robinhood, Bag Fortification Friday. Those 2 things are a match made in heaven, like peanut butter and jelly. We're just going to leave that there. So what are we talking about today? We're going hyper with velocity banking. And it's a very random occurrence because I figured, as bad as the markets are right now, we've got some leeway to make some moves. Not only that, those of us who have good credit and established credit relationships with some of these banks, as you start paying off some of these 0% loans, you start getting close to the end, they start giving you more money. And so we're going to be using that. So like now, originally I was thinking about potentially cashing out of my Misty position and buying back in, taking a cut to cover some of these expenses. But if I can move them all into 0% positions, I'm just going to do that. It's a much easier play because then I'm giving myself anywhere from 9 to I think it's like 20 something months to pay it back at 0% interest. And what that will do is once all of that's off the board, it will give me the ability to do what I've been wanting to do, which is go hyper with our velocity banking strategy. Now, for those of you who haven't seen velocity banking, let me give you a quick primer. Shout out to the Stidhams. It's not going to be as good as if they were to explain it. Their explanation's way better than mine. They're steeped into that retrospect. Normally, the only debt that we are carrying is debt that we have that's tied to an asset, so the asset's paying it back anyway. But with medical debt and getting some stuff out of the way faster, we've been doing some experimentation with it, and we've seen some results prior to the medical injury. Now, if you're doing velocity banking and you get a boatload more debt, does it still work? Yes, it can, but with the way that our finances are set up, it was just easier for me to lean back into my dividend portfolio. So we kind of use that to manage it. We're sitting at about $30,000, $31,000 to be exact, give or take. A little bit on the take side now. Now we're coming through the other side of it. Finances are kind of leveling out. We've got our taxes coming up. We're going to be cutting a couple of checks for that, but we have that spaced out as well. So we're just waiting for that to get finalized. And then, we've got our medical debt. We got a couple of things that we got to pay back there. But outside of that, it's kind of putting myself in position to where I can get back into the velocity banking play, which is basically what that is it's a concept of you live out of the credit card you're paying off. So you're dumping your entire paycheck into the credit card. You're using the credit card to pay your expenses plus bring down the debt, and you are also therefore controlling your expenses. So you're not spending as much as you're paying, and then you're taking that credit card down in chunks because your entire paycheck's going into it every 2 weeks. In my case, some of you, it could be weekly. Some of you are getting paid daily because you just can't wait. So like that's also a thing. When some people get paid monthly, but you're living out of that credit card till you pay it down, and then you move over to the next credit card. So I was using that method for quite a while, and I did enjoy it. But me being me over here on Future Financial Strategies, I'm like, okay, pretty old concept. I mean, it's been around for a long time. And I was like, how could we make it better? And like there's like the whole infinite banking thing. We played around with that back when you could still leverage Bitcoin. And that could be a concept. I would do it via Bitcoin. For me personally, because the opportunity cost of the setting up that initial startup of the life insurance plan that you would be getting your money out of is expensive, and it's not going to perform as well as Bitcoin. So for me, there was like, I got to wait until I'm generating, my cup is runneth over before I can do infinite banking, because I'm not going to take a $50,000 hit right now. We got 2 good bull runs left to actually get rich and change your life, in my opinion. This one and the next one. So rediverting into anything that's not Bitcoin related to me is insane. So I can't do it right now. But later on, depending on how this income portfolio works out for us, we might be doing it later. So, they took away our ability to, thanks FTX, they took away our ability to leverage our Bitcoin. So I couldn't do infinite banking with Bitcoin, which was awesome, by the way. It was great. It was a great experience. We made some leaps and bounds ahead, being able to take those loans and pay stuff off and then pay those loans back with rapid succession. It was a window in time. You had to have been there. But moving forward, as I've learned about infinite banking concepts, I learned about velocity banking, which I thought was cool. I was like, hey, this is cooler than infinite banking because I can do this right now. Most of us can do this right now. You have credit cards right now. It also is an amazing points hack as well. So like you get to rack those points up super fast. Like there's a lot of benefits, in my opinion, and we'll still be doing part of that, but this is how I'm flipping it. So instead of living directly out of the credit card, we're still going to have the credit card in play, because obviously we have credit cards to pay down. So like this is still going to be in play, but how we're going to do it is, instead of depositing that check directly into the credit card, what I'm doing, my tweak on it, and I'm calling it going hyper. That's what I decided to call it, because you got velocity banking and now you got hyper velocity banking. So what I'm doing is, the velocity banking uses your credit card as the debt tool. For what I'm going to do, I'm going into my brokerage account directly into my income portfolio, and I will invest all of the money into my income portfolio. And then as it's kicking off those dividends monthly, we will have our main position, which honestly, we're probably just going to do this into Misty, at least for a while. And then I'll take a little cut of the Misty dividends and reinvest that into the portfolio to help build the portfolio up. But Misty's my strongest payer. I've got a lot of shares of it. And there's a couple of other specific things that are tied into that portfolio right now. And yeah, but the gist of it is, you take your entire paycheck and I will bring it into my dividend portfolio, invest it in my dividend portfolio, and then all other investments and paying off my debt at that point comes out on the back end at the end, like as I get paid throughout the month. Now, what that's going to do is every month in succession, you get 2 cash infusions into the portfolio. I really don't have to worry about reinvestment at that point. It'll be more or less maintenance and management, because whatever's getting ready to pay that week is probably what will hit. So that way we get a bigger paycheck as far as my 4 weekly main payers. And if this serves well, obviously it's not going to be consistent because it's all high yield. So there's going to be a little bit of gamification in there. But if everything besides my main card is in a 0% state and I keep my expenses low, which we're planning on cutting back on everything. Like I'm planning on getting back into the you have soup for dinner. And I don't know that I'll cut back to, I'm not going to do ramen noodles, but I'll do like fancy noodles and meat. Like you do that. You got to add protein to it though. Cause like you ain't going to keep your gains if you're just eating noodles, and I'm not going to lose my gains to eat noodles. So we'll be scaling back a lot of stuff and getting ourselves to a point to where we can manage that debt while growing our income pool. And you'll have your debt tool, but we'll be predominantly out of that portfolio. And our dividends are going to pay for everything. Because like when we were using the dividends before as we were coming out of the surgery, as these medical bills were piling up, because we just got another one. So like there's an additional burden on the medical side of things now. But as we're paying those things off, when the debt that's moved over into a zero interest position, and if I just have it to where it's the active income and then I just don't spend a whole bunch of money, I should be able to pay off all the stuff that's sitting in 0%. And obviously we'll do it with what's coming up fastest as the priority. But as we start machine gunning through that debt, we'll be putting ourselves in a position to where once that debt's paid off, then all we're doing is dumping into the income portfolio and building it up. And every month the income goes, it'll be fluctuating, but over the long tail, you're feeding the machine. So we'll also be reinvesting. We'll be putting money in our long-term portfolio, but like you'll also just constantly have income going into the income portfolio. So the income portfolio can do what it can do. You're constantly feeding the machine, constantly collecting those dividends, constantly building up your asset base as far as that goes. And that's actually exactly what I wanted. Once I figured out that I was going to add high yield dividends as one of my wealth tools to keep me from having to touch my cryptocurrency ever again, and I was going to go down the rabbit hole on it, that's been the goal. And this will be a good test run because, I mean, at this point, market's down. Obviously, we've taken a massive hit. We did the portfolio update. It was ugly, and it continued to be ugly. We're moving sideways in the ugliness now. It seems like it's kind of stabilized itself a little bit, which is awesome. But originally, I was going to do the exact same thing, but I was going to sell off some assets, which I had originally said that I wasn't going to do. But I was like, hey, that was because my average cost was up and the market was booming and I didn't want to lose the opportunity cost. But now that it's down, I'm not losing anything by selling any of my assets. But I figured out that I had some more openings in my portfolio, in my credit lines, to actually move these things over and then be able to pay them off quickly. Because at 0%, you're basically outside of the transfer fee, which maxes out at 5%. So you're taking a 5% hit up front. If you pay it off during the 0% interest period, you're just chunking away at that debt. So we'll be having our daily driver card, which will be back on the Chase Sapphire, which may soon be getting replaced with the Robinhood card. Now, once they open that up for me, that's going to be a game changer. But I'm not applying for it or getting on the wait list for it until I have $5,000 in my Robinhood account. Okay, $3,000 for $4,000 in my Robinhood account. We're going to do $4,000. $4,000, it should be generating enough money to where I should be able to, put whatever expenses that I have accumulated, like my daily expenses, on that card, and the dividends will be able to pay it. So that card zeroes itself out every month. That aside, we have to go through how I'm breaking my paycheck down. Now, first and foremost, we've got my Cash App, and see, some of this might be getting shifted over to the Robinhood soon, because we have our, actually, first and foremost, we have our Citibank. I'm throwing just $20 in there. It's a petty cash account. There's just a little bit of cash over there. I was using it for a brokerage, but since I opened up the Robinhood to do the Robinhood play, I don't like having a bunch of brokerages. Because I don't like having my money spread thin like that. I'd rather have it focused in one spot. So we've got $20 a month that I just throw over into my Citibank account. If I ever need to get a hold of some cash or move some cash around, that's a place where there is actually just cash sitting. So I've got most of my cash over there. I'm going to keep my cash levels low literally everywhere else, because if I need cash, I move it from my Citibank to my Community America, and I can get from Community America to anywhere else that I need within 2 days. So we've got $20 scalped off the top going to the Citibank. Cash App currently has $75, which is like, it's my lunch, because I use my Cash App card for if I buy anything extra for lunch. I use my Cash App for that, and that's what the budget's over there for. We also have $50 going to the upcoming car down payment that we're saving in Bitcoin. The reason I say some of my Cash App might be shifting over to Robinhood is because I'm going to check the spread that Robinhood has, because Cash App's spread is stupid. It's kind of gotten to a point to where it's annoying me, especially in like a down market. I mean, it'll be great when it's up, but it's like I'm buying higher, much higher than I need to get into the market on Cash App. So I need to look at what Robinhood charges as far as their spread, because if the spread's better, then best believe I will transfer all my Bitcoin that's tied to my car payment, that's going to be going to my car down payment, over to Robinhood, and I'll just continue doing it over there, and I'll adjust my direct deposit, and I'll just have my my petty cash for extra stuff for lunch going to my Cash App. Because I mean, at this point, this week I hit it right on the money. I don't need anything extra for lunch. Like, my lunch is actually perfectly packed. I didn't even eat everything. I got some snacks for after I'm done recording this. The Robinhood, I've got 50 going there now, because I previously had 50 going to Cash App, or not to Cash App. I previously had 50 going to Citi, and I kicked it down to 20. So I took the extra 30 that was going to Citi, moved it over to my Robinhood, because that way we can build that portfolio out. We're still waiting for our taxes to come back. Obviously, I didn't file the first day of January, because now I have to wait for all my 1099s and all that fun stuff to come in, because we're making too much money in dividends and you got to pay your taxes. So I'm waiting for my return from Kansas. Also, I'm waiting for that to finalize and go through, so that I can start working on my payments for the $1,400 that I owe to the IRS, because I made too much money, which, fine, cost of doing business. Money is acquired. We have it. We're going to pay it out of the dividends. It's going to be what it is. My Charles Schwab, I currently, because right now we're on our bare minimums, we have $100 going into the Charles Schwab account, 75 of which is our crypto edition. And 25 is just going in to feed the machine. Because we're on bare minimums. We're reinvesting a lot of our dividends in there, specifically out of the Misty position. There's a lot of different subcategories that are held. I have holding pools that I'm just holding in Misty within that position. So that's getting reinvested. We have a certain amount of it that gets wheeled out into the next following week's position. And then we used our margin, and we have all the weeks started. So those will be wheeling into the next following week as well, which is going to be interesting moving forward. We still have a little bit of dividend to pay down, or margin to pay down, but that's fine. It's sitting at a much lower percentage than our credit card. Over in the Robinhood, we are looking forward to tapping the margin over there. That's going to be an interesting one. Just because their margin rates are lower, but they get you on the spreads on some of these coins, and it's not consistent. But from what I've seen, it's also not terrible. It's really not. So we're playing around with that. Like if it's acceptable to take those hits on the spread, then there could be a potential to move over some of the Schwab holdings over to Robinhood. Like that could be a thing. Depending on what we're doing within those portfolios. Like if some of those I hash out and don't just do a separate portfolio within Schwab, because as you guys have seen when I do the monthly updates, I have multiple portfolios with different goals in them. So I have my long-term hold. I got family fund portfolios that I have set aside for relatives. And we're starting that out. I have an options portfolio that is very weekly funded because that's not a priority right now. I've got a lot of irons in the pot, and that's not something that I've really focused in on yet. We're not doing anything with it until it gets about $5,000 in it, $4,000, $5,000. And it currently has like 100 and something. So we'll see when we get there. But yeah, but here pretty soon, the bulk of my check, which is what's not going into Cash App and Robinhood and Citibank at that point, which is a minuscule amount of money. Actually, I think it's like barely $100. Yeah. I think it's like just under $100 because that's 50, 75, $95. Yeah, it's under $100. So all of my money except for $100 will be dumping directly into Charles Schwab, and that'll be the landing pad. It'll no longer be my bank account. If I need money to get into my bank account to disperse, we'll be pulling that out of dividends as they come in, which is going to be pretty interesting. Like I'm actually kind of looking forward to a point when we have some of the other weeks, because right now Misty is week D, which those weeks cycle, but that's the big payer where it's like, hey, whatever needs to be paid, you basically have to pay it out of that payment, because otherwise you're just not going to have enough money to like really take care of a bunch of stuff. So most likely what we'll be doing is like Misty will be the management / whatever else needs to be knocked out, and we'll just do that. But as we inch closer, we definitely will be doing an update once I make that pivot over, because as it sits right now, until we get those balance transfers done, until they complete, I'm still keeping my check in my checking account and paying my bills as they come in. So like when I get paid in 2 weeks, whatever debt is accrued on my current credit card that we're using, which is the cap. Actually, we're switching over because I did do a balance transfer for my Capital One already. That was the daily driver. We'll be switching back starting this week. I'm actually going to switch cards after this video's done, and we'll be back on the Chase Bank card, our Chase Sapphire. So we'll be racking up those travel points, which we have a bunch of. I actually need to book a trip because like I got the initial offer bonus, which is the draw for getting that card. And yeah, it's time to book some stuff. But once the Chase card is down to where we're just doing current debts, we will be pivoting over to where we'll be dropping the majority of the check in the Charles Schwab. Like I'm just going to go ahead and just send it over there, and we'll do that after that last pivot's made. But I just wanted to give a breakdown because like that's how I'm breaking down my check in 2025. We're on bare minimum still in Q1. We might do an update and see where we're at probably a few months after we switch over to the Charles Schwab to see what this looks like, to see if we're making, because like at that point, then we'll need to do a video on how we're busting down those dividends and get real granular on that. Actually, I think that's the next video because it's going to be blatantly obvious. We got bare minimums going to all the other portfolios, and then we'll have whatever's left after we pay for stuff out of the dividends that we're getting out of the Charles Schwab account every month. Because at that point, it's going to be, hey, paying. Like, what are we buying? And then whatever's left over, you reinvest for the next month. We're not going to be necessarily increasing lifestyle. We'll be putting ourselves in a position to where it's like every month we're hopefully keeping our expenses within a certain realm, and then we're able to pay stuff off, pay off debt, keep machine gunning down the debt that we're paying. And if there's some left over, then we just have that, we have that back into the pool. That's the goal. Well, I mean, honestly, the first few months, there's definitely going to be nothing left over because we're just going to be taking chunks out of debt. And I'm excited about that. So until the next time, I think we're gonna finish it there. I want you guys to let me know, are you guys tracking how you're spending your money every month? Do you guys, because I'm not good at budgeting. I end up doing it innately, but like it's not a set like, hey, this is what I'm doing. It's like, yo, we're cutting back. Buy less food. Figure out a more efficient way to eat. Go shop. Like instead of going to Walmart where I have like umpteen million options and I end up leaving there spending a few, like well over $100 every time now to make sure that I'm full, like to get me enough food to where it's probably too much food. It's actually a little bit too much. I found out today because I have a couple of things left over. But on that same note, it's still one of those things where it's like, okay, I do need these things on certain respect, especially during the summer. It gets hot. I'm super thirsty. I need drinks. I need beverages. Some days I'm tired, so I keep a few monsters available for like if I don't get enough sleep. I've got something to give me a little pick me up in the middle of the day. We are swapping around our vitamins. We're trying to make that more efficient. We're streamlining everything. And by streamlining, I mean, if I can figure out a way to consistently make a certain amount what I'm spending on vitamins and it lasts me a while, then I'm going to opt to use those same things every time. Like a lot of these places, if you go direct to manufacturer, you can get it on a subscription basis. And that kind of makes sense to me. I'm actually kind of here for that, especially if it's going to be something high quality. So we're doing some experimentation with tweaking the vitamins so that I'm taking consistently the same thing, because it's hard to track your results if you're not consistently using the exact same supplements. Like that's the first thing. So like I have my multivitamin picked out, but the stuff that I'm putting around it is kind of here, there, inconsistent. I want this sometimes I don't want it. So like, and then I have a specific vitamins that I take for recovery when I work out. And it's like, okay, those are a little bit more expensive, but those last a lot longer because I'm not taking them all the time. I'm only taking them a couple of times a week. So like you can stretch those because I'm not doing it every day. But I'm trying to streamline my everyday. I also want to streamline my recovery stuff, because the recovery stuff that I've got right now, like my recovery routine, money. I don't feel like a superhero most of the time, but I want to have that same, and like I order the same thing. Like when I run out of it, I just re-get it. So I want to get on that same level with my everyday vitamins, because those I kind of hot swap, because it's stuff that I get from Amazon. So it's like, they don't have it all the time. Like whatever, I'll just get something else that's comparable. But then like you're using a different supplement and it just gets confusing. So we're streamlining that. We're going to be streamlining our groceries. So instead of going to Walmart, I'm going to go to Aldi, because I love food from Aldi. And honestly, Aldi has better beef jerky links than Walmart does. I haven't found one that was consistent that I like. I mean, they have Duke's there, which is a staple, but like they have these really good Aldi brand Hatch chilies that are like nitrate free and they're really good for you. I like shopping at Aldi. I just haven't been going there because I honestly don't know. Like I actually drive further to get I'll use less gas. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of benefits for this, but it's just streamlined and stuff. So like hit me up down in the comments. Are you guys streamlining? Like what are you doing? And the reason being is we're in a dip right now, and I want to be able to get as many good buys in as possible. And I know I can use margin, but when I use margin, I got to wait for the margin to get paid back before I have access to those funds myself. So I don't necessarily want to do that unless I'm going to do a margin play, like a big one where we're wiping out debt and then I'm letting the portfolio pay itself back. and just don't look at it until the margin's paid back in the portfolio and just let it run. And then when I get paid, also dump that money in there and keep spending less and kind of use that in place of a credit card, because I do have a good grip of margin in my portfolio. So I could use that as a debt tool. I don't want to lever it up to the max, and I don't have enough margin right now to encapsulate all of the credit card bills. So I also don't want to get margin called. So like that's just not an option anyway. Like I'd rather just do it without being in the margin. So we got a little bit of margin to pay back, which as we're doing these last couple of moves, we'll be paying back that margin. So that's going to be interesting. That's kind of what we're doing this month. And we're waiting for that Misty payment to roll around, because that's kind of the steamroller in that. But at the same time, we're still throwing money in there, which brings the margin down, but we're investing that money. So the money that's going in right now, we are utilizing for investment purposes and not just to inch at that margin. We're going to let the dividends inch at the margin. But yeah, until next week, people, this is another episode of Future Net Financial Strategies. Definitely tap in with me. If you made it this long, hit the like button. Definitely hit the subscribe button. Bell notification on. And till next week, people, we are out of here.
Money on my mind, yeah. Focus, got no time for games, nah. I don't play it, I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.